coffee with me this morning, man. If you don't know who we are, I'm Gracey and this is my buddy Little Dud, man. And we're coming to you. I just want to take this time to share our story, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of who we are, what we're about, and why we do it, man. Peace.
So we're here this morning with Gracey from AvD and RFC, and we're just wanting to find out more information about the organisation and what we're trying to do. So I'm going to ask Gracey a few questions and we're going to get this stuff done. So Gracey, what is AvD?
Art versus depression, AvD as we call it, man. It's pretty simple for me in terms of it's just another way to communicate. It's different language, you know, whether or not I'm using music, visual art, whether I'm writing poetry. It's just another way for me to communicate. That's what art versus depression is, simply.
And how did art versus depression start?
Basically through my own trouble and struggles and my own journey, and my inability to communicate. And because as an artist, I had, you know, it gave me another option to express myself. Yeah, that's how it really started, purely was through my own journey with depression and the difficulty I had communicating that across the board. So I used art to do it, man, and it was pretty cool for me.
And how did you do research for AvD? What did you actually do to start this whole process?
To be honest with you, it started organically. I never set out in terms of having a plan or a strategy about what we were doing. It was I was in a difficult place. I'd lost the ability to communicate with my wife and my 3 sons, which was causing a lot of hurt and pain and pressure in my family. So I really needed to try and figure out how I was going to get through this period. And the only way I knew how to do that was actually paint or write. And then when I was able to go into my studio and create art or work, this is how I was able to actually get through my struggle. So it actually just it purely was born out of my own struggle to try and deal with my own inner demons. It was never meant for anyone else other than my own, for myself to heal my family. It just came about that other people wanted to, they heard my story and they wanted to know how I did it. So, and then through demand of people trying to figure out how did you deal with your struggles, and then art versus depression was born from that. People just wanted to know how it was done and what I did.
So I heard that at the very beginning you did some research by heading into the streets and just sitting there with a notepad and a packet of crayons. Can you tell me some more about that?
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. The crazy thing with that is I probably spent about 18 months locked away, isolating myself from family, friends, circle, work, and through that difficult time. But what I did know is, like, man, it got to such a point where I was absolutely destroying or ripping my family apart, this isolation. And what I know in terms of how I was going to personally deal with that was I need to do something. I need to do something crazy, or I need to do something just to move me out of that slump or that period I was going through. So I looked around my studio, and the resources I had in my hand was paper and a crayon, and instantly for me personally was like, I need to move. So I grabbed those 2 pieces of material and I did something pretty weird, and I walked straight out of my studio and walked straight into the streets of our city, and I asked people to draw pictures of whether or not they were touched by depression or they were going through it or knew someone. And man, I spent 3 months in our city, out in our main street for probably 3 to 4 hours a day, collecting these pictures and stories. And what I found crazy was, no sooner did they grab a crayon and draw something, it allowed them to actually turn to me and share the story of that picture. And so that sort of opened it opened up the whole idea in terms of people wanted to share, they just didn't know how to. So if a simple picture that they drew was able to allow them to share difficult stories with me, then man, yeah, that's pretty much how it started. It's just crazy. So I spent 3 months out in the city, and I collected over, like, it just got overwhelming. We're talking like 3,500, 4,000 pictures, 4,000 stories, and it was crazy.
And what was the most common theme that those people had that because you were talking with homeless people and people with mental health issues on the street. What was the common theme that they were?
There were. So I spent 3 months out there. There was a lot. There was absolutely a lot. But one of the main ones that pointed out to me, that came, that was, that was like a light that shined in my eyes, was in terms of our community felt like they didn't have a voice. They felt like they got lost in the noise of life, and then the simple crayon and allowing them to draw this picture allowed them to have a vehicle to share that stories. So, and that was profound for me in terms of, so if you feel like you have no voice, even in your own family unit, or you feel like that when you do speak it's lost in noise, how can we address this? And basically the simplicity of a crayon and a piece of paper allowed them to actually address that problem that I found was, people felt like they had no voice and they had no value in terms of their own life journeys and stories. We wanted to change it. I wanted to change it.
Okay, and who is Dud?
Dud, man, he's a crazy little buddy, but Dud, in terms of, I found it difficult when I was working within our community to. There was nothing really positive in the mental health or the in any social issues that were hurting our community. There's a lot of negativity, a lot of stigma attached to it. You can go on with it, shame, embarrassment. You pick your poison. It's there. There was not many positive aspects that I could draw from a lot of the stories that we were collecting, and I was having a difficult time trying to find something that I could grab onto in terms of trying to deliver our resilient message, or deliver our message, and I spent a lot of time trying, how can I get something real positive out of this? So I've been searching for a vehicle. And Dud came around pretty, I speak a lot to the terms of, if you ask the universe to give you something and it's authentic and you believe in it wholeheartedly, the universe will speak to you. And I was quite lucky in terms of where I live, and I've gone past this store thousands and thousands of times and never ever paid much attention to it. But on this particular day, I drove past our local industrial area, and there was a blue, what seemed to me like an angel figure that sat out the front of a building. And it annoyed me because I actually drove past it, but I couldn't get this image out of my head, and I drove past the store. Went back, I'd gone probably 10 or 15 Ks, got to a roundabout. I said, no, I've got to spin around. Something's telling me that I need to go and figure out what this, what this Blue Angel was all about. And I spun around at the roundabout, came back, parked up out in front of the store, and I kept asking, why'd you bring me here? Why'd you bring me here? In terms of that. So I jumped out, walked up. Actually, I even went to touch the Blue Angel and said, "What? You've asked me to turn around. What's the whole story?" And then I opened the door to the store, and unbeknown to me, it was a teddy bear. It was a teddy bear shop. The crazy thing, I've never had a teddy bear. Never. I was never given a teddy bear as a young boy. I came from an era where you were given tools to. I'm a rural boy. So you were given a shovel or axe or something practical that you needed to use as a young fella. So in terms, no one ever gave me a teddy bear. And I didn't understand why I was here in the store, a teddy bear shop. I had nothing in my whole life. I never gave my sons teddy bears. So like I haven't even given them teddy bears. So the crazy thing, I walked through and just hit with the teddy bears everywhere, and I was going, why am I even in here? And then it dawned on me, and I don't know, you hear of the flashes from the sky or something, you get tapped on the shoulder in terms, but it was pretty much what I was looking for in terms of this vehicle I was searching for. And I entered the store, the owner. At the time, obviously, I didn't know who she was or who they were. But I sat here waiting for her to... she was taking care of a customer in front of me. So I sat and waited till she was finished and introduced myself. And she introduced herself as Kay. And I shared the story in terms of what I was going through, struggling, and what we were trying to do in the community. And we were looking for a positive vehicle. And I think I was, and at that time, I think it's a teddy bear. And I didn't even have to finish the story. And Kay turned around and said, I've been waiting for you. And so there was this like, you might say, that's all wishy-washy in terms of fairy tales and that, but there was this real time I felt there was a connect between two different people that never met each other. They come from two absolute different cultures, but there was a real instant in terms of, we were supposed to meet each other, and she finished the story for me. In terms of, in terms of saying, I've been waiting for you, man, and I know what I didn't even have to finish that story. She said, I know what I know what you're after. Give me a couple of weeks, and I'll give you a phone call. So I even left the shop, and even not even knowing what was, I just let it do what it needed to do. And 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from Kay, and I was told to come down to the shop, and then she brought out this little guy. And I think it broke down, to be honest with you. He was everything that I was searching for in terms of, you look at the little buddy, and that's Doug, and that's how he came about, man. And like I said, everything we've done has been organic. We've just allowed it to do what it needs to do, and then Dud, who's my little buddy, he has taken on, he's taken on a life of himself, and we've just been able to facilitate that.
So can you tell me a little bit about the idea around a buddy system? I know that you were in the military, and you've talked to me about the buddy system and what it means to you, and in terms of, the Resilient Friends Club and AvD, what does the buddy system mean?
The buddy system, it's not a new thing. It's obviously, like you said, I am ex-military, but the buddy system has gone through all society. We use it in sports teams, we use it in corporate world, it's used in the military, it's used anywhere where you have some sort of support system. That's the buddy system. I mean, if you look up the definition of the buddy system anywhere, you'd find that it simply speaks to the fact that your responsibility is to the safety and welfare of others. That's as simple as that is. But with us in the Resilient Friends Club, I've just added a little twist on the end of it is, and what we do in the Resilient Friends Club is, and yourself. That's all we've added in terms of what we try and, our resilient message is, is that we're actually responsible for the safety and well-being of ourselves and then others. And we believe, I believe personally with this simplicity is it's a strategy that we're finding helps a lot of people in terms of the buddy system.
So we know that there's a book about Dud, and that you took that book and you've made a program and taken it into a school, and it's been running really successfully at one of the local primary schools. So can you tell me a little bit about the program and what you do in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, the Resilient Friends Club, in terms of what it is we, with the help of Kay, that we've been able to create a book, write a story that has a lot of teaching points in it, and what that allows us to do is actually we just share the fact that storytelling is quite a powerful tool, and it allows a lot of teaching, messaging to come through purely in the form of story, and we use story throughout history. Humanity is, if anything, it's one of the main building blocks of societies or civilizations is story. A great example probably is in terms of from the sheer beginning of men walking out of caves. They drew pictures on the walls of their caves. They sat around the firelight telling stories or hunting stories to their children, or stories of why you don't go into certain areas of your land. And they use story to educate. They use story to tell history, speak to mythology of groups of people. So storytelling for us, especially as artists or people, very powerful tool. And that's essentially what the Resilient Friends Club is. It's a vehicle that allows us to tell our stories, to give value to anyone with their story, and gives all of us a platform to tell story. The cool thing, I suppose, with us is that we've actually been able to just build upon that in terms of actually, we take those stories and make them into tangible, real-time, whether projects, events, or programs in our community that actually can influence change. So, yeah.
So you give the children each get a buddy and tell their story from their buddy's perspective? Is that kind of how it works?
Absolutely. From from my experience, in terms of just living experience, most of us, let's take it for an example, an organisation or group of people. The closest one I can think of is, say a sports club. A sports club has a mascot. You know, they all rally behind on a Saturday morning before they put their football boots on, and they put their uniform on. You get in a huddle, and you have a coach, and you have team players. Everyone gets behind, and you know, on their chest they've got a mascot, whether it's a lion, or a duck, or a bird. Everyone rallies behind this tangible mascot. That's what our little buddies are for the Resilient Friends Club. You know, what we're able to do is we've got a little mascot. The message of that little mascot is that, they value your life story and your journey and the resilience you earn from it. That's what they say without us even saying anything. So what that allows us to do is, we can get behind something. So yeah, these little buddies are mascots that run through our programs, our projects, or people have in their community. Their visual and tangible touch mascots. That people, when they're sitting there, they go, "What's the whole story about that little guy?" And obviously, because visually how they are in terms of that, you know, they wear their scars openly. It actually, we've found how powerful that is in terms of starting conversations and allowing people to speak to a lot of these stigma or social issues that we have in communities. But yeah, everybody has a buddy, and it simply speaks to that. You know, like if you if you want to change, you know, what we're saying is if you want to be involved in something that you can get behind, grab yourself a little buddy. It's so simple, it's ridiculous, you know, in terms of what they are. But as a mascot, that's what our friends are. That's what these little guys are, man.
And have you had feedback from the program, and have you had people share results with you from the program that you've run so far?
Yeah. The crazy thing, I suppose, even like if we go back to what we spoke to earlier, is, you know, AvD, Art versus Depression, was born organically. That was my family's vehicle we used to heal our family. And what happened was everyone wanted to hear that story, so it grew outside of our family unit, went into our friends circle, and then it grew outside that friends circle, went into our community circle, grew out of there now and went into our state circle, you know, so the circle just started growing, and that was organic. In terms of the Resilient Friends Club and our little buddies, was exactly the same. Kay made this little buddy for me, and then what happened was people wanted their own little buddies, so, and then we grew into, now these little buddies are growing, you know, like it grew that way in terms of someone wanted a little buddy for themselves so that they could get behind him. And that grew organically in terms of it went through our circles of friends, community, and then now they're going, you know, these little guys is walking out of the country globally in terms of sharing that message. So it was purely organic. It's exceeded all of our expectations. You know, in terms of our projects that we do now within our community, you know, working with our local government bodies, working with the local mental health organisations, collaborating with the large group, you know, corporate bodies, and it was, it's exceeded our expectations. You know, we've currently moved, and we've been in the education system at the primary level. Now we're moving into the high school level, all behind a little teddy bear, man. It's crazy.
So, a big question, and the last one: how can people get involved? What can they do to get more involved?
to get involved with the Resilient Friends Club, it's pretty simple. Obviously through social media, there's a Resilient Friends Club Facebook page that you can join and share the story and follow others that are taking their little buddies and working within their communities. That's probably, that's a real go-to in terms of just straight away easy connect. Obviously another one is if you've got your own little buddy that you have, what we say is we're working little buddies. They're working teddy bears. Take them out of those boxes, that one that you had 30 years ago, take them out and actually start moving them through your community and sharing the Resilient Friends Club message. And if you haven't, if you haven't got a little buddy, go and find you one. What we're trying to say to you is simple. Is like, if you want to be a part of changing this whole culture that of negativity that surrounds depression, which is either a precursor to a lot of social issues or post response to a lot of pain that we have in our communities, go find yourself a little buddy. Get down to your, go down and actually get you a little guy and actually start moving them through with that messaging. Or obviously, you get behind our own little guys and visit our links and get us to make you, a custom little buddy. And obviously what that does is that allows us to do more work within our community.
So in terms of like sharing the buddies like on social media, would you say the best way to do it is just to photobomb your life with a teddy bear?
That's the simplicity of it, man. Grab your little buddy, share your adventures, in terms of, whether you're on holidays or whether you're going out. And what that leads to is, what we're saying is like, that's the precursor to, righto, you've got enough confidence to have that little guy out there. Then actually, see if you can move that little buddy into community volunteering or work, and then you'll actually see how that little guy actually does work on the ground. But yeah, photobomb, take images, share where that guy is, and what's cool, I suppose, a good example is we got one little teddy bear that's running in a marathon this weekend. He's going to be out there running in a marathon with a lovely young lady, and that's killer. And they share that. That's crazy cool. She's running for HBF for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Show us that. Share that story. That's crazy cool.
Yeah. So it's simple. It's not meant to be difficult. Just simple. Just share your life and photobomb with a bear.
That's it. That's as simple as it needs to be, man.
So cool.
It is cool. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Gracey, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you and Sharon have done so far. I know you've got lots and lots of people supporting you and helping you and along the way, but you guys are awesome.
Oh, we appreciate that, man. If I could, if I could wrap it all up in terms of who we are, at the end of the day, what I found out personally myself is that especially through my journey, is that it's my responsibility, my well-being and safety is real important. I didn't really pay that much attention to myself in terms of, I've got 3 sons and a family and I've got work commitments, and you do that, as a father, you go out, or any parent, you go out and you live life. What I didn't understand was I needed to really take care of myself at the same time, and that's important, and that's really important. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Peace, man. Keep safe, keep strong. It's the Resilient Friends Club, baby. That's how we do it.